we go. All right, so again, these examples here, right? Basically, what we're doing is we're doing synthetic division. Okay, so again, these are just some more examples of that. So I figured it'd be good to do these together. So again, you know, this is the first one. This is our dividend, right? This is what we're dividing, right? We're dividing by x minus 2. So this is our divisor. And remember, in this process, right, what we do is we have x minus a number, right? So that number, in this case 2, is going to come down here. The coefficients here we list, and we use 0 as a placeholder. You also want to make, you know, for missing powers of x, keep in mind you want to make sure it's written in standard form. Standard form. So 4, right? That's our first coefficient that goes here. There's no x to the 4 power. So we put a 0 as a placeholder. You know, it's like when we were adding and subtracting vertically. If you remember, then we used placeholders, and that's what we're doing here. Same idea. Minus 6, right? The minus, you include the minus sign, that goes here. The coefficient's not listed, so the 1 we put here. Minus 14, right? That goes here. The last one, 24, goes here. And this coefficient, right? This one, 4, bring that down. And then basically you're going to keep on multiplying and adding essentially, right? 2 times 4, that's 8. 8 goes here. 0 plus 8 is 8. Now we repeat the process. 2 times 8, that's 16. And 6 minus 6 plus 16, that's 10. We get 10 here. 2 times 10, right? That's 20. 20 goes here. Okay, right? So again, we have 10 here from minus 6 plus 16. That's 10. 2 times 10, that's 20. 1 plus 20 is 21. 2 times 21, that's 42. 42. Then we have minus 14 plus 42, that's 28. Right, so again, we're multiplying, and then essentially we're adding, is what we keep on doing. So we have minus 14 plus 42, that's 28. 2 plus 28, excuse me, 2 times 28, that's 56. You can always check this by a calculator. 24 plus 56, that's 80. So now we stop. There's nothing after, there's no more columns. So we stop. Now, the last number, that's our remainder. Okay, so 80 is our remainder. The other numbers here, those are the coefficients of our quotient. Those are the coefficients of our quotient. Remember, the quotient is always 1 degree less than the dividend. Than your f in this case. So this is degree 5. Our quotient's degree 4. These are the coefficients of the quotient. So we have 4x to the 4. Excuse me, 4 times x to the 4. 4 here. 8 times x cubed. 10 x squared, 21 times x, 28, right? The last number is always the remainder. You know, as I said before, 80 is the remainder. So this is our quotient. This is our remainder. So we have f, which is up here, is x minus 2 times the quotient plus the remainder. Okay, that's good. So now we stop here. Let's go on to the next example, but are there any questions first about this? Okay, so here's the next one. Again, this is our f. This one's a little bit different because we're dividing by 2x minus 1. Right? Remember, with synthetic, with synthetic division, excuse me, you want the coefficient of the divisor, leading coefficient, to be 1. Here, it's 2. No big deal. As I was trying to show you last time, as I showed you last time, we can divide everything basically by a coefficient, right? We can divide our dividend, our f, by 2. That's what I'm doing here. Okay. And when we do that, we also divide by the divisor by 2. That's what I'm doing as well. So for f, we have f of x over 2. I'm calling that g of x just for fun, I guess, so to say. I'm calling it g of x. We get 4x to the 4th over 2 minus 4x cubed over 2 plus 6x squared over 2, 4x over 2 plus 1 over 2. Right? Again, we're dividing by this leading coefficient 2. Because again, we want to do synthetic division. For synthetic division, it has to be x minus something, not 2x minus something. What I showed you last time was why it's okay to divide by this coefficient. The calculation behind it, or the idea behind it, excuse me. So we get from here, we have 2x to the 4 minus 2x cubed plus 3x squared plus 2x plus a half. From here, if we divide by 2, we get this. We get x minus a half. So now we're going to use synthetic division on this. Over here, with x minus a half. And as before, right, we have this number minus a number. That number goes here. The coefficients, right, we put here. I'll explain the fractions in a minute, don't worry. Those coefficients, it's in standard form. You can see that every power of x, from the leading term, to the last term, a half, is included. There's no missing powers of x, in other words. So we have 2 minus 2. 3, 2, a half. So this 2 comes down. We have a half times 2. That's 1, right? So we have minus 2. So we have 1 here. Minus 2 plus 1 is minus 1. Just like the other one, right? You multiply and add. The other example, I mean. A half times minus 1, you get minus a half. Now we want to do 3 plus this, or 3 plus negative a half. But remember, you want a common denominator. And that's why I took the 3 and rewrote it as 6 over 2. So now the denominators are the same. I mean, you don't have to do this. That is, if you can convert 3 to 6 over 2 in your head, that's fine. I'm just showing more steps because, again, I don't know everyone's math background. So we have 6 over 2 plus minus 1 over 2. The denominators don't change. The numerators you add or subtract. So we get 5 over 2. Now we have a half times 5 over 2. That's 5 over 4. So now we have 2 plus 5 over 4, 5 over 4. And again, the same idea, 2. I want to write this so its denominator is 4. So I rewrote it as 8 over 4. So 8 over 4 plus 5 over 4 is 13 over 4. Almost there. Half times 13 over 4, right? That's 13 over 8. Remember, when you multiply fractions, you're multiplying numerators together. You're multiplying denominators together. I probably should have said that earlier, but that's okay. A half, we want to add it to 13 over 8. We want the denominator to be 8. I rewrote this as 4 over 8. We want a common denominator of 8. So a half I can rewrite as 4 over 8. So we add. You get 4 plus 13, 17 over 8. Remember, when you add or subtract, you don't change the denominator. Okay, that's good. So now we have the quotient, the coefficients of it. That's what these are. Right? The quotient is 1 less than the degree of our dividend, which is 4. The degree of the dividend is 4. So the quotient is degree 3. So we have 2x cubed minus x squared plus 5 over 2 times x plus 13 over 4. And the remainder is the last term, which is 17 over 8. And just like before, I rewrote, in this case, g of x, I wrote it this way. Right? G of x is our new dividend, so to say, after dividing by 2. So we get this. Okay. I'm not quite done with this yet, but let me stop the recording.